Starting this morning with our keynote speaker, Mark Compton. He's the Executive Director of the American Exploration and Mining Association. He is based out of Spokane Valley, Washington. He joined AEMA in 2019 after serving 7 years as the president of the Utah Mining Association. He previously spent 4 years at AEMA, then known as Northwest Mining Association, as some of you know, as government affairs manager, and he has nearly 30 years of government affairs experience. Prior to joining the mining industry, he served as a congressional and gubernatorial aide and also worked as a forester and public affairs specialist in the forest products industry throughout the Northwest. He is a graduate of the University of Montana. Go Cats. Just kidding. He resides with his wife in Kelly on the outskirts of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Katie. Good morning, everyone. It is great to be back here. I used to attend this conference every year. Katie was saying she's been coming about 10 years. It's probably been, oh gosh, unfortunately 13 or 14 since the last time I was here. So it's great to be back. Really appreciate you having me. So, how many think it is a new day for mining in America? I have seen several hands go up. For those that your hand did not go up, do you disagree that it's a new day for mining in America? Just too shy to raise your hand? Well, I think it is a new day for mining in America. But I'm not ready to get rid of the question mark just yet, because we still have some challenges in creating that new day. Just in case, if you're not aware of who the American Exploration and Mining Association is, we are a national association representing primarily the hard rock mining industry. We do have several industrial minerals in our as part of our membership, but at the heart and soul of it, we are a hard rock industry, and very diverse membership. We've got some of the largest mining companies in the world, producers, but a significant portion of our membership is the exploration and development sector of the industry, thus having the word exploration in our name. And even though we have members across the country, the vast majority of them are operating or trying to operate in the Western U.S. on federal public lands, and therefore public land access and being able to permit those projects in a timely manner are two of the things that we work on quite a bit. So there's no doubt we have their attention, and they being policymakers. I think it really did start with the pandemic, where we saw supply chain issues across virtually every sector of the economy, minerals included. But I think in 2022, we had a significant event that heightened their attention, and that was Russia invading Ukraine. And we really started to see the weaponization of supply chains. Now, and of course we've seen that over the years periodically with China and cutting off exports, rare earths particularly. But it was really, I think, the Russian invasion of Ukraine that got the attention on both sides of the aisle. But like I said, policymakers are getting it. These are some congressional findings in a bill that actually passed. Congress does pass something every once in a while. And I don't think anybody would be surprised at any of these. The availability of materials, which includes minerals, it's essential for national security, economic well-being, industrial production. It's affected by the stability of foreign sources. It's closely linked with concerns about energy and the environment. We're interdependent with other nations through trade, technology, technological innovation, research and development, critical factors. And importantly, that really the U.S. does not have a coherent national minerals policy. So I think this pretty much accurately describes the state of play, right? I don't think anyone would disagree with that. Thing is, those were congressional findings from a bill that passed in 1980. So this isn't something new. We've had these issues for decades. So, and this bill really came about based on a report that was done that described our national minerals policy as one of benign neglect. So what do you get when you have a policy of benign neglect? You've probably all seen this USGS mineral import reliance chart. We are way too dependent on foreign sources for our mineral needs, and that has only grown over the last several decades. And we've all heard about, the growing mineral demand, whether it's for energy sources or EVs or just industrialization around the world. Mineral demand's growing exponentially. If we are going to, as an industry, be able to meet that demand, these are the things that we are going to have to have. We have to have policies that encourage investment. Currently, we have way too many disincentives for investment. We need certainty. We have to be able to access mineral deposits. We've got to be able to explore on federal public lands. And of course, we have to have that efficient permitting system. And that is certainly going to need to include litigation reform. We must have social acceptance. That's still a key part of it. We've got to have it with the public. We've got to be able to make the connection with public between mining and their daily lives, the communities in which we operate, as well as with indigenous communities. And we have to have a skilled workforce. There are way too many people in the mining industry that have hair my color. And it's said that half of the mining workforce is going to be eligible to retire in the next 5 years. You can think about that. If you're a young person in this industry right now, you have a very, very bright future ahead of you because you're going to go places fast. If you're looking to get into the industry, there are going to be tremendous opportunities. But it's not just the industry. The federal government, state governments, we've got to, as an industry, we've got to have a skilled workforce there as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that a little later. So, we had all those findings 45 years ago. Things have only gotten worse. What's changed now? Why do we have a new day for mining in America? Well, elections obviously have consequences. We keep seeing the pendulum swing. We had the first Trump administration made some very positive changes for mining, all of which just got undone by the Biden administration. Now we're seeing the pendulum swing right back, except now it's going way over here. There's an awful lot of activity happening. And as a matter of fact, it's kind of fast and furious. Just in the first 100 days of this administration, about 150 executive orders were issued. About 30 at this same point in his first term. I think you're seeing, this is a very unique thing in American history. Only once before has a president served 2 non-consecutive terms. So I think you're seeing what happens when an administration gets a 4-year vacation to think about what they did right and what they did wrong the first time around and to prepare for a second term. Because I think in 2016, nobody really expected Donald Trump to win the presidency. And I think that included Donald Trump. So they really were not well prepared when they took office in 2017. They were very slow to get political appointees in place, really didn't have a firm grasp on what they wanted to do policy-wise. That is definitely not the case this time. Most all of the significant political appointees were at least identified, named, prior to him even taking office. Now, we don't have nearly enough of them in place yet, because obviously there is a Senate confirmation process that takes time. But we are slowly getting more political appointees in place. But one of the, again, with that pendulum swing, one of the first things he did on day one was revoking a lot of the actions from the Biden administration, such as the 30 by 30 initiative or environmental justice initiatives and the focus in that area. Day one, he issued the Unleashing American Energy executive order. He declared a national energy emergency on day one. Those use the term energy, but just know minerals are a part of that definition. And we're going to go through these a little bit more in detail, but shortly thereafter established the National Energy Dominance Council. Did a minerals specific executive order called Immediate Measures to Increase American Mineral Production, and several others. I mean, we're not going to go through all of them, but the Unleashing American Energy executive order really tasked the cabinet departments with identifying agency actions that burden the industry and to revise or rescind those actions. And there have been a lot identified at this point. The National Energy Emergency allows the various departments and agencies to use emergency authorities to move projects forward, as well as using the Defense Production Act. Again, I said he established this National Energy Dominance Council. So this is a White House level council. It is chaired by Department of Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, co-chaired by Department of Energy Secretary Chris Wright, but includes among its membership virtually every department and agency that has some role to play in the mineral space. And that includes just about every department and agency in the federal government. But really just to advise the president on how to improve the process and get mineral production going. And I think one important aspect of this, as chair of this council, Doug Burgum gets a spot on the National Security Council. We've never had a natural resource focused position on the National Security Council. So it really, I think, highlights the level of concern that the administration has for mineral supply chain issues. So the immediate measures to increase American mineral production executive order, again, playing to that national security theme, our national and economic security are now acutely threatened by our reliance upon hostile foreign powers' mineral production. It's imperative for our national security that the United States take immediate action to facilitate domestic mineral production to the maximum possible extent. I don't think we've ever seen that type of statement out of an administration. You know, policymakers have gotten it for a long time. To a certain degree, the Biden administration got it. They knew that we needed to have more secure mineral supply chains. And they said a lot of the right things, but the actions weren't actually moving us in that direction. They seem to be more focused on securing our mineral supply chains by working with allies instead of spurring domestic mineral production. And it's not an either or. We've got to do both. I mean, we have to maximize our domestic mineral production to the maximum possible extent, as they say. But we've also got to work with our allies. Problem is, only working with allies, as mineral demand grows, we're going to be competing with our allies for that same constrained supply. So at some point, you know, they're going to be looking out for themselves as well. As part of this, importantly, mineral goes beyond just the legal definition of a critical mineral. That term is something that's always kind of chided me a little bit. I happen to think that all minerals are critical. I don't know about you all. As a matter of fact, I used to always put up my definition of a critical mineral, and I just showed the periodic table. That pretty much covers it. But as part of, the term critical mineral is in statute. The USGS has their critical minerals list. Department of Energy has their critical materials list. DOD has a list. Gets really confusing, not really efficient, but it is a term that we have to live with. But this executive order does take it beyond just that traditional definition of critical mineral to include uranium, copper, potash, gold, and importantly, any other element, compound, or material as identified by that National Energy Dominance Council. So if they think it's critical, it's now critical. So one of the things that they were supposed to do is identify some priority projects that can get expedited permitting, and really to prioritize mineral development on federal public lands. Identify where mineral resources are located and prioritize mineral production on those lands. It directs agencies to actually cooperate with each other. Novel concept, but way too often agencies are at loggerheads with each other, whether it's Interior and BLM, Fish and Wildlife, or Forest Service, whatever it is, Department of Energy, Department of State, Commerce. They're too often working in opposite directions. This is supposed to help coordinate some of that activity, as well as providing financial incentives, using the DPA, using things like the Department of Defense, the Export-Import Bank, Small Business Administration, to coordinate efforts to actually fund mineral projects. And it doesn't directly address the Rosemont decision, which I'm sure most of you are aware of, that affects how you can use federal lands for purposes ancillary to mining, but it directs them to come up with some recommendations on how to address that and for how for Congress to address that. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later too, because Congress is working on a solution there as well. So I mentioned that they were directed to identify some priority projects, and they wasted no time in doing so. Within a couple of weeks, that first list of 10 projects came out. A couple weeks later, on May 2nd, 10 more, and they say that there are more to come. These are what they're calling transparency projects, which at this point, I still don't have a great understanding of exactly what that means and what it's going to mean for these projects. So the Fast 41 is an expedited permitting process. It's FAST stands for Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act. And the 41 is it's in section 41 of that Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act that several years ago developed an expedited permitting process for, you guessed it, transportation projects. Well, right at the end of Trump 1, we got it so that mining projects were eligible to be covered under Fast 41. We only have one project nationwide that is on the Fast 41 dashboard, and that is South 32's Hermosa project in Arizona. That actually has gone well. That has forced better coordination among federal agencies. It has set timelines for things to get done, and for the most part, it seems like they're sticking with those timelines. And South 32 is, we're expecting their record of decision any day now. These projects are not officially on the Fast 41 dashboard. They're on the transparency dashboard. So it is supposed to lead to better coordination. But really, I'm not, the proof is going to be in the pudding on, how fast these projects move forward. But as part of that Unleashing American Energy executive order, where they're supposed to look at actions or policies that hinder the mining and infrastructure development process, they're taking a lot of action right now. The Council on Environmental Quality has always had NEPA implementing regulations that all of the departments and agencies must comply with. Those have been revoked. Now each of the departments and individual agencies are responsible for developing their own NEPA regulations. Part of this was in response to a couple of court cases that determined that CEQ doesn't actually have the authority to require agencies to follow their regulations. CEQ is also going to be in charge of what's called a permitting innovation center, using technology to help better transfer data between agencies. The Department of Interior has developed emergency permitting procedures in dealing with NEPA, Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act, and dealing with ESA Section 7 consultation, to where EISs are to be reviewed within 28 days. Environmental assessments within 14 days. I really don't know how this is going to work. There's legislative efforts out there to get it down to 1 year, 2 years, which is extremely aggressive. 14 days, 28 days? I don't know. I know there's some agency folks in here that are kind of shaking their heads at this too. We've had a company that has signed up for this. There is a uranium and vanadium project in Utah that is now under this emergency permitting procedure. I'm sure you can come up with a NEPA document in 28 days. The question is, are you going to be able to defend it in court? Because you've got to have a legally defensible product. I also am not really sure who in the agencies are going to be doing this work. We have obviously had a tremendous reduction in force in the federal government. I think it could be a little more well thought out as to who goes and who stays. I don't think any of us would disagree that we need a more efficient federal government. We probably have a lot of federal government employees that should go, but I think right now there's not enough thought as to who's staying and who's going. They are definitely are in the process of rescinding the BLM's Conservation and Landscape Health Rule, otherwise known as the Public Lands Rule. This is great news for the industry. AEMA actually sued the Biden administration, on this rule for lots of reasons, but ultimately they decided to change FLPMA, the Federal Land Policy and Management Act, by rulemaking, and that's kind of Congress's job. So it would be good to get that replaced. One significant thing, and it's been in the works for many years, over many administrations, and we haven't gotten there yet, but I think we're going to get there soon, is having the Forest Service revise their 228A surface mining regulations to include a notice level provision similar to that which BLM has. You have, and I'm not speaking to anyone who doesn't know this, but a lot of folks just absolutely avoid exploring for minerals on Forest Service lands. It just simply takes too long. What you can get done in 30 days on the BLM through a notice level provision may take you a year or two on Forest Service. Who's going to invest in that? Not that many folks. So getting a 5-acre notice level provision on Forest Service ground would be a game changer in a lot of ways. And then other rules that they are looking to rescind and or revise include the WOTUS, Waters of the U.S., the ESA. There's several ESA rules that the Trump administration put in place during their first term. The Biden administration rescinded those. Pendulum swung the other way. Well, it's about to swing back. And the EPA is under a tremendous deregulatory initiative right now. Legislatively, it's all about budget reconciliation now. So budget reconciliation, for those who may not be aware, if it has a significant fiscal impact, they can bypass the filibuster in the Senate and just needs a simple majority. So right now, the Republicans in the House and Senate are trying to include anything and everything they can as part of that budget reconciliation process. There are permitting provisions that were included in the House version or will be included, passed through the House Natural Resources Committee at this point, that basically creates, well, it really is a pay-to-play permitting provision, where if a project proponent pays 125% of the cost for the agency to get through that permitting process, or 125% of the cost for the agency to review documents prepared by the project proponent. And that's another key thing here, the ability for project proponents to develop their own NEPA documents. Then they get, expedited permitting, and there is no judicial review of those NEPA documents. We'll see if this stays in. The Senate parliamentarian ultimately is going to determine what qualifies for the budget reconciliation process. A lot of these things are going to fall out as we go through. Again, Mining Regulatory Clarity Act, that addresses the Rosemont decision, does not overturn the Rosemont decision, but does provide a workable solution that the industry can live with. That's still going through the process. It's passed the Senate committee, but it's not going to qualify for reconciliation. So it's ultimately going to need 60 votes in the Senate, which means there are going to have to be at least 7 Democrats that support this. We've maybe got 3 right now, 4. So we're still seeking ways to get this through the Senate. Mining schools, we talked about the need for the skilled workforce. We're graduating 300 approximately mining engineers in this country every year. China's producing thousands. So the mining schools bill would provide some grant funding to accredited mining schools throughout the country. I think there are 14 right now that would qualify to help bolster their mining programs and recruit students. It's only $10 million a year in grants. It's authorized for 8 years, so it has an $80 million fiscal impact. And as supportive as folks are in Congress for the mining industry right now, we haven't been able to get this through just because it spends $80 million. There's that kind of philosophical things going on, that if it's spending money and if we don't have some place to directly cut $80 million, we're not going to pass it. There's all kinds of legislative efforts out there. We'll see what actually ends up passing. But don't forget, not everything is sunshine and roses. We still have our detractors in Congress. The Mining Waste, Fraud, and Abuse Prevention Act. It's a regurgitation of decades-old efforts to reform the mining law of 1872 that would basically gut the mining industry's ability to operate on public lands. Those efforts haven't gone away. They're not going to pass in this Congress. But pay attention to these pieces of legislation, because, again, that pendulum swings, and there will come a time when the industry's got a gun to our heads with legislation like this. So at the end of the day, what we are after as an industry is a coherent national minerals policy. Folks, this ain't it. Not even close. But this is what we have right now. This organizational chart was developed by a friend that worked for Senator Joe Manchin, who obviously retired. He's now out working as or the friend that developed this is out working as a lobbyist now. But he called it the Federal Critical Minerals and Materials Ecosystem. This is a chart of all the various departments and agencies that have some finger in that minerals pie. And it's just simply not coordinated. The good news is AEMA is on the list down there. We're part of the ecosystem. So this doesn't need to completely change. You know, we want some of this to stay. But from an industry standpoint, we got together as an industry, AEMA, National Mining Association, SME. We all met at SME's office about exactly a year ago, and developed this concept for a National Materials and Minerals Council, something that would be at the White House level, that would coordinate all these functions across the federal government, sort of as a replacement for the old U.S. Bureau of Mines. Well, now we have the National Energy Dominance Council. So we're actually talking with them about maybe that foundation is where something like this can be housed, that would kind of give us a mining czar, so to speak. I mean, we're the only serious mining country that does not have a minister of mines or the equivalent thereof. But again, social acceptance is going to remain key. I know Jake's going to talk about this a little bit later, but the Good Samaritan law that we were able to finally pass with the pilot project program last year, I think holds a lot of potential for helping build trust with communities and addressing those old abandoned mine lands. But it's really a matter of solving that great disconnect where people just don't get where their stuff comes from. You know, the age-old question of where does milk come from? Well, for way too many people, the answer's on the right up there. So, you know, we put out lots of infographics and things, something that the industry has done for years. But mining's opponents are really, really good at playing to emotion. We always counter with facts. Facts are great, but they don't win people's hearts and minds. So last July, AEMA, we launched a new public relations campaign called I Am Mining. And it's really people focused in an effort to humanize the mining industry. Help people understand that the mining industry is not, some faceless corporate entity headquartered in a foreign country. It's people just like everybody in this room, who are just like everybody else. We have the same hopes and dreams and fears and passions and hobbies as everybody else. And in an effort to really show common values and connect to people on an emotional level. So there is a photo series that's involved. We have events across the country, but at the heart of the campaign is it's a video series. So I'm going to show a real quick video here to wrap things up. But this is just kind of a promotional video of the campaign itself. We'd love to get more folks involved. We haven't gotten anyone yet from Montana, so I really look forward to having someone from Montana profiled. But here we go.
It's an opportunity to give back to your local community and to really feel like you're making a positive difference through your job. And that's what I absolutely love about this industry and what will keep me in this industry for the rest of my life.
What it means to me to be a miner is to take care of the resources and the environment that we're mining in. And that's my goal, is to try to support the good effort of mining.
Really a creative and fun and informative way of telling the world, the United States, and the public about our great industry and the people behind the scenes that are making a difference every day. So it was really easy. The results have been phenomenal. I think this campaign has really reverberated throughout the industry and helped it to come together and to celebrate the people within the mining industry. It's been really fun to make and really fun to see all of the different colleagues across the country share their stories.
I am Wendy. I am a mom. I am a U.S. Navy veteran, and I am mining.
I am mining.
And I am mining.
I am mining.
All right, so I was hoping to be able to show you another kind of a compilation video. That was, again, kind of a promotional video for the campaign itself, but I think it really has a lot of potential to move the needle in public perception. It also has a lot of potential in workforce recruitment. When people see folks just like them that are working in the mining industry, they're like, huh, maybe I could work in the mining industry. And we're actually going to be making some workforce recruitment focused videos as well that we're going to be launching at our summer summit in Spokane in just about a month. So from that skilled workforce perspective, I mentioned the Mining Schools Act. That's a priority for us to get passed. At AEMA, we've got a committee now that is focused solely on workforce issues, but we're also very proud of what's called the AEMA Society, which is really a professional development program for folks in the industry. It provides a year-long interdisciplinary curriculum from experts in virtually every discipline in the industry. It matches folks newer to the industry up with mentors in their discipline. We're now in our 4th year of this. If any of you are interested, the application process for 2026 is going to be opening soon, or if you have folks in your companies, we've got about 25 that are in this year's class. Probably about as much as we can handle, but it's really a cool program. So we're going to be highlighting those workforce issues at our summer summit coming up in Spokane, June 11 and 12. And then, of course, we have our annual meeting, our 130th, actually our 131st annual meeting. This is 2025 is actually the 130th year now of AEMA. So I better not screw it up. With that, I am open to questions. Thanks everyone for having me. Okay, I saw Mike and then back in the back. Do we have microphones for folks? Because
I'll try speaking loudly.
Okay.
Two-part question, Mark. One is, back in 2022 and 2023, the Biden administration formed an interagency working group and asked for comments from the industry, and under your leadership, AEMA put together a very, in my view, comprehensive reply. And Biden administration didn't act on. I'm just wondering, are you making the Trump administration aware of that? Because, as you know, it addressed a lot of these same points. And the second question is, you said there's no national policy. There's actually the National Minerals Policy Act of 1970 and 1980. Problem with both of those, as you know, is there was no enforcement. So are they looking to amend those?
So on the first point, every principal person that I've spoken with so far in the administration has access to our interagency working group comments. I was just in DC last week. We met at the White House. We've met with Interior. We've met with USDA. We've met with EPA. They all have our working group comments. And quite frankly, we're trying to figure out some things within the interagency working group recommendations that should actually move forward. Because it wasn't all bad. It was bad, but it wasn't all bad. And so we're trying to parse through some of those things right now. And I agree, the National Minerals Policy Act 1970, that declares that it is the national priority to have a strong domestic mining industry. But there is no teeth to it. Agencies have ignored it time and time again. Same with that act from 1980. So I think from the administration standpoint, you're already seeing that commitment through the executive orders to amend the Minerals Policy Act, Mining and Minerals Policy Act. That's obviously going to take an act of Congress. That is something that's going to have to go through regular order. So it's going to need 60 votes in the Senate. If it's a policy initiative, it's not going to qualify for reconciliation. So I don't think, honestly, Mike, I don't think there is a serious effort to try to update that legislation, because I don't think it realistically can pass. Yeah, there was a question back there. Yeah, so the question for those who couldn't hear was more about, how do we lessen that pendulum swing and create more certainty through the permitting process. And that's something that we're talking about with the administration right now, is how do we make some of these changes durable and lasting. One of the ways, and that's one of the things that we've been advocating for through this National Materials and Minerals Council concept, is having that White House level supervision. Having a bit of an adult in the room that's keeping the various departments and agencies moving in the same direction, and that direction ultimately being securing our mineral supply chains. One of the ways that, number one, I think it's really helpful having that entity at the White House level. The next move for us is to try to get that council codified in statute, so that Congress is saying, thou shalt have a White House level council focused on mineral supply chain issues. Here are the roles and responsibilities of that council and its director, to try to, even if they do that, if the next administration decides they want to go in the opposite direction, they can slow walk things as much as they want to. But if it's in statute what this council must do, it should at least lessen that pendulum swing. That's the hope. Other questions? All right. Well, I think we are running just a little over too. So thank you very much for your time. Appreciate being here.